But why do I feel this way? Why am I on such edge? What is happening when I know everything is fine? And that is a big question that oftentimes gets underlooked. And a lot of times we want to go straight to making sense of it. But the biggest deficit that you can put yourself in is asking yourself why. Because why you're anxious doesn't matter in the moment. What matters in the moment is your nervous system is on edge. Now, your nervous system is part of a parasympathetic and a sympathetic, along with that polyvagal nerve that goes down your back. And all day long, you're bouncing from a relaxed state to a potential edge, risky state. Relaxed state, edge state. That's what your body does. You don't want to be stuck in one end, because if you're stuck in happy state, then you're not prepared for something. But if you're stuck over here in fight, flight, or freeze all the time, you're screwed, because it's hard to really enjoy life, right? So we want to swing back and forth. But let's say I've got a client who comes to me. This is a true story. She owns a business, and she had a great day at work the day before, felt successful, felt accomplished, loves her work, loves what she does, feels like she's completely in purpose, but wakes up in the morning before her first client meeting, and all of a sudden she's starting to feel like panicky and overwhelmed and nervous, and she can feel it in her body, but her mind's like, wait, like, I love the client that I'm meeting with, I love my work, I'm happy all the time, why am I feeling this way? And I can relate to that, because there were a lot of times when I would be really excited about something going on, but how it came out was anxiousness. And I knew it was the anxiousness because I would over perfect what it was I was trying to accomplish. I would appease my clients in order to make them happy and, emotionally manipulate them to still return. And yes, I want you to swallow that and let it marinate for a second, because us anxious people unconsciously will emotionally manipulate situations in order to make them go our way so that we don't have to feel as anxious the next time. So I want you to really sit on that, because I received that feedback from a therapist years ago, and I wanted to get out of my seat and walk out. I'm not a manipulator. No, I'm not. But I will emotionally manipulate situations when I am so uncomfortable that I can't bear it anymore. I don't do that anymore, but catch yourself and notice what you're doing. So I wanted her to look at the fact that anxiety, it's not about the circumstance. Anxiety has nothing to do with what's actually happening. It is a predictor to an assumption that there's danger ahead, that something bad is going to happen, that a painful experience is going to be had, and we don't want to have pain in our life, because somehow pain got deemed as bad for whatever reason you've experienced in the past. But anxiety has nothing to do with the circumstance. It's all about what the body has learned to anticipate. So the question that I always ask is, what is your body thinking, anticipating, sensing is going to happen with that client, with that meeting, with that next amount of money that you're trying to earn? What is the body trying to anticipate? Be aware of what's happening in that, because that is where you are going to get a lot of information once you start to pay attention to your body a little bit more. Now, this is what happens in a lot of high-functioning women that I see. This is where I see high-functioning women that are uber successful disconnecting from the cues that their body has until their body is so alert and so overwhelmed and so on edge that has nothing better to do than to panic, than to shut down, than to get super sick, than to start avoiding. And then that's where we start to see these symptoms of anxiety happen, where let's say we have panic attacks, let's say we're afraid of getting sick, or we're afraid of being in small places, or we run out of things that feel like pressure that we used to be able to handle. High functioning women are really great at ignoring their body cues. And so I want you again to check in with yourself and look at, what are my patterns of behavior when it comes to running my business and being in my life? Do I push through things when I need to slow down? Do I tell myself I don't have time for that when I actually really need to just be with it for a second? Because those two specifically are very easy to negotiate in times of stress and overwhelm, where we need to listen to our nervous system for a brief moment, check in with ourselves, see what's going on, and then move forward. So for women like me, like how I used to be, where people would tell me, you have it all together. Like, how do you manage it all? How do you do it all? Well, girlfriend, if you only realize that behind the scenes, I was running around on fire half the time screaming, help me, Oprah Winfrey. Help me, I'm on fire. Help me, help me, help me, help me, Jesus. Who is that? Isn't that from like the Ricky Bobby? That's the Ricky Bobby guy. You know who I'm talking about. I'm gonna go on tangents sometimes. That's how it feels. Like, I literally feel like I'm running around in my suit. I'm on fire. I'm taking the suit off. I'm in my underwear. Everybody's staring at me saying, you're not on fire, but I feel like I'm on fire because I'm freaking out inside. But on the outside, I make it look like I've got it all together, which isn't true. And so if you are someone who's really good at masking and portraying this ability to handle it all and manage it all, while on the inside you feel like you're on fire, it's time to stop, because that feeling is your nervous system sending you cues. And it's telling you that something is off, something is going on that needs your attention. But because you're so good at focusing on the next box that you have to check, it's easy to ignore. But what you don't want is to get to the place where you panic, is to get to the place where you're having these heart palpitations, is to get to the place where you get really sick, right? You want to start listening to the signs and cues that your nervous system is giving you early, so you can stop it before it gets worse. And how often am I seeing clients between their 20s and their 40s and 50s because they let it get so bad that now it's overrunning their life and it's not serving them, and they're not able to enjoy the success that they have in their business. They're not able to choose partners wisely. They're not able to enjoy the money that they make because they're so overwhelmed and so burnt out or so afraid that they can't even be present in their life to have joy and peace in what's going on. So I want to remind you that if you're in this space, being ashamed of it, feeling guilty about it, being embarrassed by it, is not going to stop it from continuing to run your life. So the strongest, most courageous thing that you can do as a high-functioning woman is acknowledge that anxiety lives inside of you and it's gotten in the way. I used to work with a woman who we helped heal her anxiety to a place where she was completely functional in her day-to-day, but she would have panic attacks in grocery stores, was afraid to go into her office because she was afraid to have panic attacks there, and refused to do some normal day-to-day things that she used to be able to, because she was always living with this constant small level, low grade piece of anxiety. But the more that you ignore this low level of anxiety, it has nowhere to go. So it gets louder and it gets bigger, and it blows up. And so we had to work on creating safety for her first. And where is the best place to start creating safety? In your nervous system, in your nervous system. Fun fact, did y'all know that I used to sing for my high school theater doing musicals? I did. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was my blowout moment. So remember, anxiety does not equate to your circumstance. Anxiety is your nervous system saying that something is off. And the body responds to patterns, not logic. So your nervous system will not respond to logic, but it is going to respond to patterns. And if you're stuck in a pattern of avoidance, of overworking, I've got a client right now who wants to constantly take responsibilities off of her husband because she's so afraid of what might happen if she asks for help and they get into a conflict over it, right? There are very odd things that we do when we're anxious. And so this is where you've got to know what those behavioral patterns are, what those responses are. And once you do, this is where you acknowledge my body has a pattern it's responding to. So I can't get it out of it from using logic. I can't get it out of it from using like, duh, I know this, or shame, right? I should know this. I'm smart. I don't know how many times in my very poor dating history that I would say, I'm such a smart woman. Why am I doing this? Because it had nothing to do with my intellect. I still am a smart woman, whether I choose a poor partner or not. I was choosing partners based on what my nervous system was telling me, based on the feelings that I had. So logic can't outrun what the body's pattern is doing, okay? So remember, high performers, they will always override their body signals until that anxiety comes. So what do you need to do? Number one, anxiety is information. It is simply information. It is not a flaw. And if I could be paid for the amount of high-achieving women who are so embarrassed by the anxiousness they carry that they see it as a flaw, then the shame that spins inside of that has them stuck in the anxiety even longer. So the moment that you can come to a level of self-acceptance and say, all right, I have some anxious symptoms. This must mean something. Something's going on. This is telling me something. You can actually do what you do best as a high-functioning woman, which is work to solve the problem. Because you're really good at solving problems. You're really good at accomplishing goals. But for some reason, when it comes to anxiety, you point the finger at yourself, make yourself feel bad for it, and then you can't do anything with it, right? Who am I talking to? Talking to my old self. I walked through all of this, but I know I'm talking to you because you're either here or you've been there or you know somebody that's here right now. Now, awareness is the beginning of regulation. So when we go back to the question, why do I feel anxious even though there's nothing wrong? Instead of using logic to figure out what's wrong, I want you to start using awareness. Awareness of what you're feeling. Where in your body are you feeling it? What does it feel like? Because underneath anxiety is an actual feeling that you're having. Overwhelm, pressure, expectation, stress, fear, worry, jealousy, whatever it might be, there is something brewing underneath that anxious experience. And being aware is the beginning of being able to regulate. And you cannot regulate what the body doesn't know. You cannot regulate what your body is trying to process. And so you've got to create safety and understanding that before I take action, I have to create awareness. Awareness won't stop the anxiety. I'm going to tell you a secret, okay? Awareness is not going to stop the anxiety and it's not going to get you to change. But what awareness is going to do is it's going to give you the first step in listening to the body cues that are happening so that you can then do something about it. And this, my friends, is the first step to my 5-step framework in order to reset your body and start to heal your nervous system. My name is Brianna Morse, and I am a 20+ year licensed clinical therapist who also loves to work with faith and fashion, and I'm here to use my voice and my life experience to help you get unstuck. Okay? Mwah.